Hello, welcome to Web of Stories. My name is Melinda, and I am here with my September book haul revisit. If you don't know what a book haul revisit is, that's where I look at my book haul from years past in whatever month it is. So this is September. And so I'll be going back looking at September 2023 and September 2024. Please excuse the noises my computer's making. And I will look to see of the books I hauled those months, are they still on my shelves? Did I read them? Did I unhaul them? What's going on? Now, one thing I do to kind of keep things from becoming too overwhelming is last year when I did this for the first time for September 2023, any book in that last video, and I'll link it down below, that I read or unhauled or whatever is taken off the list. So I will not be addressing those again in this video. This is just the books that are left after last year's book haul revisit. So let's go ahead and start with September 2023. I'm coming into this year with 14 books left on my September 2023 haul. So let's see how many are still there. The first one I have is a audiobook, and it is A Line to Kill by Anthony Horowitz. This is part of his Hawthorne and Horowitz series, which I really enjoy on audio. Just haven't gotten to it yet, but I will. I'm not as concerned about getting through my audiobooks as quickly as I am, say, my physical books. Audiobooks don't take up room. I don't have that many audiobooks on my own TBR, so it's fine. The next book I have is one that I pre-ordered, and I have not yet read it. So we're going on 2 years now. And this is Happiness Falls by Angie Kim. I had read Miracle Creek by Angie Kim, and I really enjoyed it. So it was a no-brainer to pre-order Happiness Falls. But I did hear some mixed things about Happiness Falls, which I think is why I haven't been that eager to read it yet. It is currently on my priority TBR shelf that's over there on that side of the room. So maybe I'll get to it soon. We'll see. And I'm following this up with the first of a couple books that I got from my library has a little bookstore that's always running, except when they're having their big sale. And they have like a limited collection there, but they do kind of rotate things in and out. So I like to check and see what they have. And this one is Blue Diary by Alice Hoffman. I really enjoy Alice Hoffman, so I'm trying to get through her backlist. Picked this up for a couple bucks. Haven't read it yet, but I'm not as concerned about that one. The next book I have is one that I have unhauled. Now, if you watch my monthly wrap-ups and my goals, you know one of my goals this year, actually for almost every year, and I've never met, is to finish the year with at least one less book on my own TBR than I started with. So to do that, I'm trying, and I started this partway through the year, so I'm playing catch-up still, but I'm not allowing myself to let my own TBR grow each month. So when I get to the end of the month, if I still brought in more books than I either read or unhauled, I have to unhaul books to get that down to zero. And there's going to be a couple of them, but this is one that happened too. I just had to unhaul it. I did pick it up at a little free library, and I've returned it to another little free library. So I'm not out any money on it, but yeah. And this is Icy Sparks by Gwyn, Hyman, Rubio. I just, I looked at it again and I wasn't as interested in it. If something happens and I decide I do want to read it, there's this thing called a library I can get it from. So the next book I have is another one that I got from my library sale, and this is Unsheltered by Barbara Kingsolver. Barbara Kingsolver is another author that I'm trying to read a backlist of, so this is waiting for me upstairs. And then I have my 2 September Book of the Month books. Now, with Book of the Month, if you've been there long enough, I think you have to be there at least a year before this happens, but your birthday month, you get an extra book. And so September's my birthday month, so I got 2 books. The first one was Evil Eye by Etaf Rum. And I am actually looking forward to reading this. I haven't read it. I did really enjoy A Woman Is No Man. So I will get to this when I get to it. The next one I have a little bit of a question about, and that is The Vaster Wilds by Lauren Groff. So I have been told that this is going to be part of like a 3-book grouping, not really a series, but a grouping. The first one is The Matrix, and then The Vaster Wilds, and then whatever the 3rd book is going to be. And I have heard both that I need to and that I don't have to read The Matrix first. Not that they're tied together story-wise, but just for the continuity of the idea that Lauren Groff has going, you should be reading The Matrix first. Is that true? Because I've not yet read The Matrix. That's one of the reasons why this one hasn't been read yet. So if you have read The Matrix and Vaster Wilds, please let me know if I can skip The Matrix and go to Vaster Wilds or whatever. So the next book is another unhaul. This one was not an unhaul to get myself down to 0. This was an unhaul because I realized I don't like the genre of this book. I don't know about, this is not specific to this book. I had read one too many books in this genre and I realized I don't like this genre. And this is a really popular book. It's The Housemaid by Freida McFadden. I think there's an adaptation of it out or coming out. I don't like those domestic thrillers. I tend not to. And so that one's taken up space and it went away. The next book is one that I really have been meaning to read because it's it's currently the most recent in the series, but the new one's coming out this month. This is The Last Devil to Die by Richard Osman, which is, I think, the 3rd or 4th book in the Thursday Murder Club. And I've read everything up to this. I just need to get it done. I'm not planning to read it in September because it's shorty September and this is longer than a shorty, but I might make a point of reading it in October. Then I have a book that I got off Bookshop, and I cannot remember what prompted me to get this. It is historical fiction. It's called Veil of Doubt by Sharon Verts. This is one that I'll be taking a look at some point when it comes, if I do get into a position where I need to unhaul some books. I don't remember why I got this book or what appealed to me about it. And that's kind of a sign that maybe it's not one that needs to be on my shelves. So we'll see. The next book is hopefully getting read this month because it is a shorty. And I have said this for like 2 shorty Septembers in a row now. And I haven't gotten to it. And it is The Body by Stephen King. I've seen Stand By Me. I know the story. I just need to read this. And I just haven't yet. But I really am leaning into shorties this month. So hopefully it will happen. We'll see. I don't have that many shorties in print to read. And so that bodes well for this. But we'll see. I mean, I am going to read it. This isn't one that's ever going to be unhauled. I will read it. But I just haven't gotten there yet. The next one is a short story collection that I picked up used at Powell's, and this is The Best American Short Stories 2006 by Ann Patchett. It's upstairs in my pile of short story collections because it's not the recent Best American Short Stories. There's no rush on it, and it's fine. It can live up there. I'm fine with that. I'm not super worried about that. And then I have a book I actually read. I think this is the only book on this group that I read. And I did really enjoy it. And that's Horrorstör by Grady Hendrix. Messed up IKEA horror story. It is what it is. It's really an experience to read. If you ever choose to read this book, do get the physical copy of it because it's styled like an IKEA catalog. And it's an interesting book. I think Grady Hendrix, for me, is pretty reliable. I haven't read all of his works, but I have read Horrorstör, obviously, and My Best Friend's Exorcism, and Witchcraft for Wayward Girls. And I enjoyed them all. Next month, I will be reading How to Sell a Haunted House. That's upstairs on my shelf. So I enjoyed it. I recommended it. I read it. It's gone. And then I have a book that I had heard about. I'm interested in reading. I might try to read it in October because it's witchy. I am all about the witchy books. And this is The Witches of Vardo by Anya Bergman. I don't know anything about this book other than witches, but October's coming. So there you go. So that's what I carried forward to this year from September. So out of those 14 books, I unhauled 2 and read 1. So now I have 11 books that we will be revisiting again next year. And hopefully there will be fewer. So let's go to 2024. So this is the first year that I am revisiting 2024. So this is my everything that I brought in 2024. Anything in this, and there are quite a few that I have read, and I think some that I have unhauled. Of course, they won't show up in future book haul revisits, but you get them all this time. So the first book I have that I got in September 2024 was one of those cases I had agreed to do a buddy read. And I had thought that I could get the ebook very easily from the library because there were no holds on it, and it's a pretty long book, so I needed to start it right away, and I was waiting until right when I started it so I would have the full 3 weeks to read it, and so I thought there wouldn't be a problem. And then I went to check it out, and there's like a holds list of 5 people, and I'm like, great. So I had to buy it, and that is A Prayer for Owen Meany. The good news is I read it right away, so there you go. That was a reread for me. That's an interesting book. It didn't age completely well in some ways, but I enjoyed the experience of buddy reading it. It had been a long time since I had read it. So yeah, that was A Prayer for Owen Meany. The next book was an audiobook that I buddy read with Michael Clark, and that is That Librarian, The Fight Against Book Banning in America by Amanda Jones. So Amanda Jones is a librarian in Louisiana, I think, somewhere down there. Who went to like a public, she's a school librarian, but she went to like a public library thing where they were talking about book banning, and she said something not even about school libraries, but about public libraries and the process for, choosing books for the library. And then she became a target for people who want a book ban, and that was her experience. It was a B book for me. She had some really good points that she made, but she also kind of sunk down to the level of the people who were going after her by kind of going after them. And I didn't really appreciate that. It was one of those sort of infuriating books because book banning is infuriating. I just felt like she could have conducted herself in a better manner through it all. But that was my feeling on that one. And then I have another book that was actually kind of a hot book last year that I also did on audio, and that's A Well-Trained Wife, My Escape from Christian Patriarchy by Tia Levings. This was a very interesting book. Tia Levings was in the sort of Goddard part of fundamentalism, and she was in a really awful marriage and sort of her escape from it. She has a very interesting story. I know she's working on a second book, and I do recommend this. I will say she doesn't have the most pleasing voice to hear. So if you're sensitive to that, maybe don't do the audio. I will also say, though, that she is a great social media follow. She explains a lot about Christian nationalism and gives you some really good points on it. So that was A Well-Trained Wife, My Escape from Christian Patriarchy by Tia Levings. And then we have a book I have not yet read, but everyone tells me I need to read it. And I actually had hoped to get to it in Big Book Summer, and I didn't, but I am going to read it. Don't worry. That's Life After Life by Kate Atkinson. I've heard great things about this book, so I will get to it. It will happen. And then I have an unhaul. I got this as part of a book box where I was in a series where they were subscription service where they were sending me used books. So I didn't really have control over the books. And this was not a book I would ever pick for myself. I take that back. That's not what this case was. This was a DNF. I do have those books later, but this was a DNF. And I tried to read it because I needed it for a challenge. I had to read a book with a pun in the title. And this one was Cremains of the Day. This cozy mystery. And I tried. No, I can't. I couldn't. I found a pun in something else to make that challenge. I couldn't do it. This was not my style of book. Okay, the next 2 books are a sort of interesting case. They I got them through Book of the Month, but they were not Book of the Month books that I ordered. Book of the Month goofed up, and they sent me someone else's order. And when I contacted them about it, they said, okay, we'll send you the books that she requested, but don't worry about sending back the books that you have. So I kept them on my shelves. One of them's still on my shelf. I didn't pay anything for these books, so I don't feel guilty unhauling. I did unhaul one of them, but they were just sort of bonus books. The first one, which is still on my shelf because I will read this one, I think, and it's a horror novel, and that's Sleep Tight by J.H. Markert. I don't know what it's about, but I might read it during spooky season. I'll see. It was a freebie book. And the second one was an unhaul for the same reason that I unhauled The Housemaid. I just realized this isn't a genre I like. Again, I didn't pay for these books. I didn't request these books, so I don't feel bad at all for unhauling it. And that's Somewhere in the Attic by Andrea Mara. It might be a perfectly good book. It's just not, I just know it's not the genre that I enjoy. So, and then I have the 2 books that I did request from Book of the Month, and I have not read either one of them yet. I'm so far behind in my book of the month books. The first one is The Love Elixir of Augusta Stern by Linda Cohen Legman. I've been following Legman from like her first book, which was The Two Family House. It's on my priority shelf. I just need to get to it. It looks like a really delightful book. And I actually just pulled it out a couple days ago thinking it might be a shorty, and it wasn't. So it's probably not going to happen in September. And then the second one was The Seventh Veil of Salome by Silvia Moreno Garcia. It's Silvia Moreno Garcia. I didn't even look to see what the book was about. The cover was nice, had an intriguing title, and it's Silvia Moreno Garcia. So there you go. I got it. Haven't read it yet. So the next book I have is one that I have read. I did this as a buddy read with Lori from Books, Ink, and Paper, and we really enjoyed it. This is The Examiner by Janice Hallett. I really do enjoy Janice Hallett. This one was about, there was a graduate level course, and part of this was the whole course, because it was a new course, was someone from another university was supposed to kind of go in and make sure everything was okay. And that's the examiner, but things weren't okay and someone might have died. Really good. It's one of those multimedia things. So you have text messages and voicemails and things like that. Very fast read for a book that's pretty chunky. But it was a lot of fun, and Lori and I both really enjoyed it. And then I have a book that I got from the indie press list. The next two books came from the is it two that I got from there? Yes, two books I got from the indie press list, and I just messed up my thing. This one though, it's on here, but I realized after I had purchased it that I had it on my Kobo. So it's kind of, I put it on here as I got it in September, but I actually had it before. And to be fair, when I do read it, I have not read this yet. When I do read it, I will probably read it on my Kobo just because I'm having some eye issues, but it's just easier to read on my Kobo. And this is Belle, Greene, a novel of America's most famous librarian by Alexandra LaPierre. If you have read The Personal Librarian by Marie Benedict and someone else, I'll put the other person's name down here, which I haven't. It's still upstairs on my shelf. It's about the same person. Andrew Carnegie, I think, his librarian. So there's that. And then the second book I did read, and this one was such a delightful read. It was so I really enjoyed it. I specifically ordered this book from the indie press list to read when I was in Arizona because it takes place, I thought it took place in Tucson, which is where I always go in Arizona, but it actually took place in Phoenix, but it's fine. It's still Arizona. And that's Dinosaurs by Lydia Millet. Lydia Millet is actually from Tucson. That's why I took that. Really great, like found family, find your purpose in life book. Not very long. Do highly recommend that book. It was a 5-star book for me. And then I have a short story collection that I haven't read yet, but as I said, I'm not in too much of a rush for short story collections. And this one's The Missing Morning Star and Other Stories by Stacey Shannon Dennett-Sosi. I do know that Greg at Supposedly Fun recently read this, and I think if I remember correctly, his take, like, it was fine while you were reading it, but didn't really stick with you. We'll see. I'm still going to read this. I just don't know when. It's upstairs on the pile of short story collections, so we'll get to it when we get to it. And then I have a middle grade book that I had intentions of reading when I got it, and it just didn't work out. And then I had intentions of reading for middle grade March, but I could not bear to read it then because it's about the Holocaust, and I just wasn't feeling... The world is weird right now, and Holocaust books are kind of hard, okay? And this is When We Flew Away by Alice Hoffman. This is sort of an Anne Frank story of before they went into the attic. Again, as I've said before, I really like Alice Hoffman, and it's just, I don't know. I don't know if I'm ready to read an Anne Frank story right now because of this. So it's on my shelf. Then I have a book that I got to read for my Marginalized Authors book group, and this is Malas by Marcela Fuentes. This takes place down on the South Texas border, Texas-Mexico border. It was a really interesting book discussion. Mariandrea from Books and Bocadillos is in my book group, and she lives in that area, so she had a lot to add to it. Not a super wonderful book. I think we all had some issues with it. I think it was a good 3-star book, but not horrible. So that was a beautiful cover. I'm not really a cover person. I don't just because something has a beautiful cover, I might pick it up and look at the synopsis, but I'm not going to buy a book just for the cover. But this one did have a beautiful cover. And that's, again, Malas by Marcela Fuentes. And then I have another short story collection. And this is The Paper Menagerie and Other Stories by Ken Liu. I heard LeVar Burton do the short story, The Paper Menagerie, on his podcast. And I was so taken by this story that I had to get this. And I know that Ken Liu is like a science fiction guy, and that's not really my genre, but I just loved that story so much. Just that performance, it was just, I sobbed through it. I had to get it. Haven't read it yet. Again, it's upstairs on the pile of short story collections. And then I have 3 audiobooks that I got because my Audible, like I do buy 12 credits a year, and it was like, you have a year to use them, and I was coming up against it. And then I thought it was going to be really good and cancel Audible, but then I didn't. And I feel dirty, but I still have Audible, because if you listen to classics on audiobooks, Audible's really got some good options. And I know. I also have Libro, if that helps. And despite the fact that I have Audible and Libro, most of my audiobooks are coming from the library, but whatever. I did get 3 audiobooks to kind of use up those credits. The first one was Somewhere Beyond the Sea by T.J. Klune. This is the follow-up to The House of the Cerulean Sea. Haven't read it. I haven't listened to any of these yet, mostly because I just haven't been like, ooh, I want to listen to this now, and I have a whole, a vacancy spot in my audiobook listening, but I'll get to them. And then I have one called Strong Female Character by Fern Brady. I believe this is nonfiction, I think. Can't really remember, but I must have liked it well enough to use a credit on it. And then finally, I have one, in Heidi at My Reading Life, I believe, read this and really liked it. And that's The Quiet Damage, QAnon and the Destruction of the American Family by Jessalyn Cook. This hits close to home. If you watched my live stream with Margaret Pinard and her Agitation August, I mentioned this. My mother got, she didn't get into QAnon, but she got in the whole rabbit hole Fox News thing towards the end of her life. And there was dementia elements involved there that we weren't aware of at the time, but still, I saw that happen to someone, so this one hits really close to home. But I am also very interested in it, so. And then I have 2 books. These are the 2 books that came from that subscription service I talked about that sends used books, and I actually have unhauled both of them. One of them was not what I was going to read, and it went pretty quickly, and the other one was one of those I needed to get to 0. The one that I got rid of because I needed to get to 0 was a historical fiction called Under a Sardinian Sky by Sarah Alexander. Alexander. I think I read reviews on it, and it didn't convince me that I needed to keep it, so there you go. And the other one is The Diva Cooks Up a Storm by Krista Davis. It's under the same umbrella as the Cremains of the day, and that's just not my thing. So those both went bye-bye. And I don't get books from that subscription service anymore, because the number of books I kept from there is very small compared to the ones that I got. But I came into this with 21 books in my 2024 book haul. I have read or unhauled 10 of them, so we are carrying 11 forward. And that is my book haul revisit for September. Next year, of course, we will go back and we will revisit the books that I have not read or unhauled off what I talked about today, plus everything I haul in September of 2025, which the month is still young, so we don't know what that's going to look like yet. Let me know if any of the books that I said that I have that I'm planning to read and haven't yet. If anyone would like to buddy read any of them, let me know. I'm always open for buddy reads. I just might have to schedule it out a bit because I'm trying not to overburden myself with buddy reads. But yeah, so there you go. Let me know if you made it this far. I'm looking at this, because one of the books is Somewhere Beyond the Sea. Give me a fish or a whale or an octopus, some kind of marine animal. There you go. If you want to, you don't have to do it. It's always interesting to see what people come up with. Plus, also, if you don't know what to leave for a comment, but you want to leave a comment, you can just leave an emoji. It's fine. It's fine. And anyway, subscribe, join my Discord, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.